Howdy folks, this is Father Dougal 9000 here, and welcome to another episode of Game Finish Trios, that series where I talk about the games I've played and beaten as part of the Hardcore Gaming 101 Forums Game Finish Challenge. It's that wonderful time of the week again, where I have to think of some preamble before getting into the games, but am unable to think of anything. And you know what that means, I'm going to tell a joke instead. What do you call a Konami stealth game about an undead spirit that talks too much? Metal Gear Ghost Babble. Today's games were originally logged from the 27th of May to the 1st of June 2022. Dishonored for the Xbox 360. One of my brothers grabbed this game many years ago when it was available as a free Games for Gold title, remember those? And it's been sitting on the console for the last several thousand years. I tried to get into it a couple times previously, but I kept getting hung up on trying not to kill anyone and my own incompetence at stealth games. Finally, I decided to just accept that I will make mistakes and either run away from guards or kill them. So I'll still try my best anyway. And to my surprise, I ended up enjoying this loads. Using the blink ability to teleport around the place, it gave me the encouragement to treat this as a semi-open stealth platformer, with a degree of verticality and a deluge of secrets and side quests that kept my interest up. Even the more linear stages that were focused on traversal, those were loads of fun in that regard, as they tested me to see how I could get past intimidating looking areas. The assassination targets made for some enjoyable scenarios where I had to keep an eye out for guards, snatch stuff for extra cash, and see how I could accomplish my goals. The most memorable instance was trying to knock a target unconscious in front of a character they were trying to murder, thinking that said character wouldn't mind this. But they did, and in trying to kill me, they shot the target mid-chokehold. They were the ones who killed the target. I skipped most of the story cutscenes because I found the dialogue very formal and expository in a way that kind of bugged me, mainly because everyone talks like that. But there's some neat stuff you can find in side quests and character asides that made me go, oh, that's interesting. This was more of a gameplay-focused adventure on my part, and I'm happy that the game just let me carry on my merry way instead of trying to make me care about the story. Sometimes you're just not in the mood for a big story, and it's nice when the game gets out of your way in that regard. So, hell yeah, Dishonored. A cool video game. Jake Hunter Detective Story Ghosts of the Dusk, Episode 3, Forget-Me-Not, for the Nintendo 3DS. This is the third mobile game featured in Ghosts of the Dusk, and the 23rd Jake Hunter mobile phone adventure game, and it's one that is the most complex adventure in the series since the Famicom remakes in the first DS compilation. 8 years ago, Jake was asked by a woman to give a mysterious envelope to her daughter when she turns 18, but she refuses the envelope. Before he has time to figure out what to do, he gets lumbered with a case for a missing son and a favor to investigate a new gang that's kicking up trouble. It's so complex that he has to ask Yulia to help him out, and they slowly discover that there's a common thread linking all three of these cases together. For the first time since as time goes by, you get to play as Yulia for a while and investigate things on Jake's behalf. There isn't as much emphasis on the characters swapping stories and comparing notes like in that game, but I appreciate the added emphasis on detective legwork. It makes for a nice change of pace after these more linear stories from WorkJam and Orange, another studio that seemed to start working on these mobile phone games. This is quite good, though I must admit I don't have a lot to say about it in particular. However, it did remind me of something I've been meaning to bring up. The localization in terms of where the game takes place is hilariously inconsistent. Memories of the Past went with the Ace Attorney route of relocating the game from Japan, in this case the actual district of Shinjuku, to the fictional US city of Aspicio, complete with rendering many signs in English and giving the characters not Japanese names, and even calling the Yakuza the Mafia, giving them all Italian names and whatnot. Ghost of the Dusk keeps the Aspicio and not Japanese names, but that's all it does. It's clearly set in Japan, all the signs are still in Japanese, gangs are interchangeably referred to as the Mafia or the Yakuza, despite them still having Italian names. And characters regularly take part in culture-specific customs like lighting the incense at a grave. It's really funny how this game is the exact definition of that notorious Ace Attorney parody comic by Awkward Zombie, Eat Your Hamburgers, Apollo. It's a very weird thing to happen to this series, but it makes me laugh, so feck it. Dead or Alive 2 for the Sega Dreamcast. That's right, introducing the very first Dreamcast game I have ever beaten, admittedly through the Redream emulator. I must admit that this one's in a weird situation, at least for counting for the Game Finish challenge, because I did play and beat the remake that was made for the original Xbox, Dead or Alive 2 Ultimate, which adds mechanics from 3 and tweaks various things. I've beaten that game many times over the years because I love it. However, I don't know if there's enough differences between that remake and this Dreamcast version to count as a first time or a replay. I thought it might be the former when I figured that 2 played very differently from its remake, but honestly no, I'm not that sure anymore. Dead or Alive is my favorite fighting game series for its simple but endlessly complex inputs, its excellent animation, the tactile interaction with the environments like breakable objects and different floors and stages, and that amazing counter system. I briefly played the original version of 2 back on the PlayStation 2, but I lost interest. I can't remember why, because it's Dead or Alive 2. I faintly recall thinking that it was closer to 1 in the gameplay rather than the combat from 3 onwards that I adore, but I was totally wrong. So much of what made me love the series has been here since 2, and it's crazy to see it in action. I played through the story mode with all 12 characters, admittedly on the easiest difficulty because the final boss is a pain in the butt as is, and I messed around with other modes including the time attack, a few attempts at survival mode, and so on. Being so familiar with Dead or Alive 2 Ultimate, I realized that apart from the additions of stages and combos, the main changes it introduced were things that maybe aren't important, but are still vital to the experience. Letting you fight against a computer opponent in versus, letting you pick which stage to fight on for any of the non-story modes, giving you a move list during the sparring mode to let you try out all your character's attacks. They're part of what make Dead or Alive 2 Ultimate the best version of this game, and I did miss those playing this original, but I still enjoyed it immensely because it's still Dead or Alive, and Dead or Alive kicks ass. All of the ass. I can love that series, goddamn. And with that, we've wrapped up another episode of the series. I hope that you enjoyed watching, and you'll tune in for the next video. Thank you so much, and until we meet again, have a wonderful day.